Broadview for April 2nd, 2012 to order, promptly on time at 7:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Abraham?
Here.
Trustee Benson?
Present.
Trustee Hybrid?
Here.
President Downs?
Present.
Trustee McGriff?
Here.
Trustee Morris? Here. Trustee Brown Marino is absent. May we all stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Item number 2, public comments.
Ms. Ellington off of 25th Avenue.
When I bought my property, the townhouse on 25th Avenue, I have no parking garage. Well, I didn't anticipate my daughter getting the car, it's my fault. And I have nowhere to park. As I park in the alley, closer to my garage, my neighbor to the back of me parks, so her in front of her garage. It's a little alley, my car has gotten damaged before for parking in it. Last week I got a ticket parking in the Broadview place. I called the police department this morning, and the young lady told me, well, you can park out on 18th at the municipal park. I'm going to park on 18th. I come home 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and walk to 25th.
Are you asking a question or just making a comment?
Do I have the park?
Well, I don't know. All I can do is say we've investigated. If you give us a number, we'll contact you. I don't know exactly what to tell you at this point with your situation, being on 25th of Main Thoroughfare, but we will contact you and give you some kind of idea, some kind of recourse, okay? Ms. Redmond?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Shirley Redmond, 2246 South 24th Avenue. I was at the last meeting and stayed till the end. I even went back and looked at the video so they understood what was said. I'm happy that I had a chance to talk to Trustee Anderson and also talk to Trustee Marino and Director Raines all before this meeting. And in leaving the meeting on Saturday that was hosted by Trustee Moreno's group, I talked to Trustee Benson for a couple minutes. Anyway, here's my questions, because I understand the capital project for the water and sewer. I want to know, are there other sources of funding this? And if you all have talked about it, then I, as a resident, I'd like to hear, are there loans out there? Are there grants? Are there other bonds that could be maybe less costly? I don't know. This might be the best we can get, but I'd like to hear that if that's the case from where you are as to why, Mr. Coyne made his great presentation, and I understood what he was saying because I said listen to it twice. So I want to know what other sources out there. And then as I looked and I heard the figures, I heard from, I think I heard our finance director say that our water fund has $800,000 excess for the last 6 years, okay? If we go for bonds, whatever it is, and we have to pay $854 or $1 million or whatever, where is that money coming from? And then secondly, what happens if my street floods, because it has, or it had flooding back up? What happens if there's other work? How do we fund those? I'm all for it. I want you to hear me. For working on the streets and working on the sewers. I think whatever we do to improve the village is going to help all the residents. But I want to make sure that it's something that we all know what the cost is. I don't expect any free anything. If we have to pay more, I want to know all of it, okay? And then lastly, and I want to say this, and I mean it in a very positive way, I want us to be very professional. Last time we had the meeting, whatever the differences, and I've talked to individuals personally myself, and I'm happy to take anybody out to lunch. You got a problem? I'll help you if I can. I'm just saying. But I think everybody should have information to understand. What you said, Trustee Morris, I think I agree with. Doesn't matter how much we table, as long as we all understand what's going on. And we as the residents want to understand. And I also want to have, if you don't have a rule, I'm asking you, a policy. If somebody doesn't get the information in a timely fashion, will you make sure everybody's given at least a week to read it? Just as if when we had the problem with our clerk not getting stuff in for the agenda, you waited and you said by Tuesday or whatever week, it won't be on there. All I'm saying is that will resolve it. And if anything I can do to help, I may not know much, but I'll be willing to help. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Redmond. I think that most of these things will be addressed throughout the course of this evening. Madam Clerk?
Item number 3, consideration to approve the following minutes, March 5th, 2012, regular business meeting.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, it's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham and properly seconded by trustee Harper to approve the minutes. Has everyone gone over the minutes? Have any questions or comments regarding the minutes? No corrections, no comments. All in favor to approve?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries to pass the minutes from the March 5th meeting.
Item number 4, consideration to approve the expenditures, grand total of all funds, $454,783.92.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Properly motioned by trustee Morris, properly seconded by trustee Abraham to approve the expenditures. Report from finance?
Yes, sir. We have Admiral Mechanical Services, $25,000, AT&T, $4,062.48. Blue Cross Blue Shield, $108,956.42. Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency, $105,789.84. Group Industries, $39,116.68. Tino's Heating and Plumbing, $6,300. Lincoln National Life Insurance, $7,338.60. The Law Sophia Finaro, $13,253.93. MFA Construction, $7,916.68. Northwest Ford and Sterling Truck, $64,218.40. And the Bank of New York Mellon Trust, $50,000, which is 95% of the bill, which is $431,953.03.
That completes your report, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have any corrections or questions or comments from the board, starting at the right? Trustee Abraham?
No, sir.
Trustee Benson?
No.
Trustee Hargett?
None.
Trustee McGreer?
None.
Trustee Morris? Trustee Brown Marino?
No.
May I have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Benson?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Trustee McGreer?
Yes.
Trustee Morris?
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes.
And that motion carries to pay the bills.
Item number 5, reports of village officers will be given at the next board meeting. Item number 6, communication, we have none. Item number 7, unfinished business. 7A, consideration of an ordinance approving agreement by and between the village of Broadview and Hutchinson, Shockey, Early and Company to provide underwriting services for the village of Broadview in connection with the sale of water and sewer revenue, taxable and tax-exempt funds for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly motioned by trustee McGreer and properly seconded by trustee Abraham to approve this ordinance. Have any questions or comments from the board, starting at the right? Trustee Abraham?
No.
Trustee Benson?
No.
Trustee Hargett?
No.
Trustee McGreer?
None.
Trustee Morris?
Yeah. I did have a conversation with the underwriter here, and from what I understand, we are not obligated at this point to pay a dime for him to shop the bond out. We move it real slow with it, and we can turn back when we don't feel comfortable with it. So I had a conversation with Mr. Ames. I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to quite a few people, because at the last meeting, I did not understand, and I was upset the way the meeting was going. So I got all the answers that I need to proceed forward on us trying to improve the village. But if we see anything that does not look right, we will stop. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Morris. Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes, I see that Mr. Coyne is here. I do have a couple of quick questions for you, if that's all right.
Mr. Coyne?
In the agreement that we have here, there's a section at the end where it says that the HSC fee is separate from other costs of issuance that the issuer, which is the village, can expect to pay for a bond issue. And there's a couple of items in here. I realize that this is not our final contract with you, but there were a couple of items in here that I disagree with and don't believe that it would be the village's responsibility. For example, the Underwriters Council. At this stage, if we were to authorize this agreement, would you be expecting the village to pay for the Underwriters Council, for example?
All of the lawyers that the village picks affects the need for and the amount of work that our lawyer would need to do. Those are intertwined. You can't really estimate one without the other. Your choices affect our need to have a lawyer, how much to use them. So you tell me who your lawyer is going to be at council disclosure council.
I know.
The answer what the magnitude is. You can make it an expensive proposition to me or an inexpensive proposition. So
what he's saying is we pick our own lawyers and we would negotiate the price with the lawyers that we pick.
yeah, and
Well-
that affects
Right.
what I need to have.
Right, except what I'm referring to, I mean, of the other councils here, for example, the bond council and local council, which would be our village attorney, those would traditionally be the issuer's responsibility. But something like the Underwriters Council generally is the underwriter's responsibility because it's their lawyer. And my question, though, is, do we need to strike some of these items before authorizing this agreement? Or is it sufficient for me to simply say that I believe that there are terms in this agreement that we need to revisit?
You can revisit them later.
Just as a point of order, if you want to make changes to the agreement, we can discuss that now. If it's not a final agreement, you can approve it subject to changes if that's what the board's pleasure is. And then I can make those changes with Mr. Coyne after the meeting, subject to, signature later by the president and clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. But carry on with your line of questioning, Trustee Moreno.
And one of the other items in here is for disclosure council. And that actually brings me to the other question that I had. I listened a couple of times to our discussion at the last meeting, to the tape of this.
Okay.
And there were a number of different instances having to do with whether or not, your thoughts about whether or not these should be revenue and general obligation. When it came to the additional, or a different rating service. And there was another time where you said that the strategy in these bonds, by doing them this way as revenue bonds, we can focus simply on the water and sewer fund revenue history and not be tainted, which is the word that you used at one point, by our other financial history.
That's the strategy. Try to keep this on its own merits with its
You can tell that.
revenue stream and your own contractual commitments that will be part of the bond resolution.
So is this strategy the reason that you've also listed a separate disclosure council?
With the changes in Washington since the Disclosure Council has been an increasingly important, frequent, and separated from Underwriters Council role transactions, particularly for
Let me say it this way, I'm a little uncomfortable. First of all, what I've learned over the years in trying to learn everything I can about municipal bonds is that this is an extremely complicated procedure, and it's very difficult to, there's certain rules that are very difficult to understand exactly where you stand. I mean, even the SEC has said that they give guidelines but not so much rules when it comes to disclosure by the municipality, because it's left up to the states, and I mean, it's very complicated. But what I see is that, just like we see with the Freedom of Information and Open Meetings Act and those type of laws, the trend is to be more open and disclose as much as possible. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this approach. I'm not certain that it's wrong. I'm not certain that there's something wrong with it. But I am uncomfortable with it.
Well, but this is the, 2012, and this is what the SEC is forcing upon people.
No, I don't mean the idea of having to pay for separate disclosure counsel. I mean the idea that we're approaching this by trying to present to the purchasers.
But when the purchasers decide about buying your bonds, they're going to hit their Bloomberg, because we deal primarily with, or exclusively with institutional investors. They hit their Bloomberg, they hit the Village of Broadview. They see that the last 5 sets of audits are filed. They know what the fund balances are in your general fund. They know what your bond rating is, when it's there. They have access to lots of information over and above the package that we'll give to them in the rating.
So you're saying that just because we are not necessarily disclosing the entire village picture,
No,
they can find it other ways?
it's highly likely that your entire village audit will be attached to your disclosure document. It will be highly likely, the last 5 years of your audits are already on the EMA system, which is where all the institutional investors pull information. So they already have the ability to get the last 5 audits with all the footnotes, with all the supporting tables.
Okay.
When you look at, there's a couple other villages here that haven't filed their stuff, so the investors don't want to look at their stuff. But you filed with the county and you filed with the EMA.
The reason that I'm concerned about this is because as I was looking into this more, the SEC and various rulings as well as court rulings have been showing that there is a greater expectation of disclosure from the board members, whether we're talking about a municipal board or a water board, whatever, because we're assumed to have the intimate knowledge of all the material facts that have taken place in our village. And that's the reason that I'm concerned with this.
That's why you have local counsel, and that's why you try to get the best lawyers as possible involved in your transaction, so that you have less to worry about.
Now, Mr. Coyne, assuming that the agreement is approved today and you do go forth and try to find out what kind of packages you can come back to us with, have you been instructed by anyone in the village whether you are to look for 8 million, 10 million, 12 million, or will you bring back a range of different possibilities?
Well, when we talked about these, I brought back a bunch of possibilities.
Right, and I did see this afternoon this other spreadsheet.
What you want to do is a function of, what you want to fund, what your project list, which is the next agenda item, and what you want to fund of it right now. Those are your decisions.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, how much, are you going to simply go out and talk to the prospective purchasers?
We have to get bond counsel involved to get a bond resolution done to get your procedures to the next stage. And then we put together a package based on those documents and in conjunction with the disclosure council that we send out to the rating agencies and bond insurance company, and then later to
questions I had for you, Mr. Klein, this evening. Thank you. The only other thing I'd like to say is, and I did have an opportunity to have a discussion with Trustee Benson on Saturday about this. There are other financing options, I believe, available to us that we have not explored. For example, one of them that I discussed with Trustee Benson was the Illinois Financing Authority, which handles a number of different types of financing, including low-interest loans and grants. It appears that what they primarily focus on are bonds, but even those are at a lower interest rate without the same overhead costs. So when I had asked Mr. Coyne, yes? I'm sorry.
When you involve the Illinois Finance Authority, you not only need your bond counsel, your underwriter counsel, your disclosure counsel, but their bond counsel as well, because they take your bond issue and then make it part of another issue.
Right.
So when you evaluate, one of the factors, when you evaluate resolving those guys, you have to think through whatever benefits you might get from you going through them as an issuing authority with the extra transaction costs that you involve because of that. And some of the people that go through the Illinois Finance Authority have no ability to issue bonds on their own on a tax-exempt basis, like DePaul, like Loyola, like Mullins Boots. You can issue tax-exempt bonds on your own authority with the cooperation of the people. So you're in a different legal status with respect to the IRS than most of the people who go to the IFA. And additionally, the IFA does a lot of transactions on behalf of food distributors and companies, and they're doing a lot of variable rate transactions. We're at the very short end of the yield curve. So some of the interest rates that you're thinking about, because they're just using ineffectively a 1-month rate for their issue. Some of those issues, it's really not comparable to your situation, where you're issuing fixed rate bonds, you know, and you don't have letters of credit like a lot of their issues will. But, you know, there's benefits, but once you get on a lower issue size, if you're not talking 50 million, then by the time you amortize the extra sets of lawyers.
Except that we're being asked to pay for all of the attorney in your package as well.
But no, but it's additional bond counsel fee.
The point that I was trying to make is when I had asked Mr. Coyne at the last meeting about the feasibility of speaking with a couple of different underwriters, I would like to establish that in addition to working with Mr. Coyne, I would like to explore some of these other possibilities, especially in terms of grants and other types of loan programs, whether we would be able to get a loan for the entire amount or some smaller portion that would reduce our the bond amount. Basically, I think there are a lot of other possibilities that we haven't even explored yet. So I would hope that if we do decide to approve an agreement with Mr. Coyne, that we do actually look into the other possibilities as well. And with that, I'll close.
Okay, did you want to say something, Mr. Attorney?
Just briefly, one of the points brought up was an issue related to this particular agreement requiring that we bear the cost of underwriters counsel and the disclosure counsel and so forth. Just to put this in perspective is that during the annual rollover bond, which everyone's intimately familiar with, every single year annual, the underwriter counsel has been paid for by the underwriter, so that's just a history, and that was something that Ms. Baptist, Director Baptist, instituted in the last 2 years. So just want to make sure you understand what we've done, you know, whether or not this is obviously a bigger bond, you know, and we have associated costs with it, but, you know, that's something we'd have to discuss, and I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what we did in the past, that's all.
Yeah, and add to that, a couple of meetings ago, we actually contracted with a grant writer to actually pursue grants for us. I think maybe we should just direct the grant writer to take a look into it. But in the meantime, considering where our bond rating is, I think that it's going to be very trying for anyone to get the bond based on what the current rating is for the village. So with that being said, since this is not tying us into any final financial liability at this point, and it's just allowing them to go out and do it subject to us negotiating the balance of the contract as relates to bond counsel for the underwriters council, then maybe we should just go on and approve it subject to the corrections to the contract with the attorney presented to the board in the next meeting or in a future meeting. Is that something possible? So I'll entertain, who made the motion on this one? I'll entertain an amended motion with corrections that are approved between the village and Mr. Coyne pursuant to underwriters council, et cetera.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Have any other questions or comments behind that?
Exactly what changes are we making?
Well, we don't know what the changes are. They're going to come back to us. It'll be discussed and then it'll be brought back for another vote. But it's going to allow him to at least get started so that we don't stagnate the process. May I have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Benson?
Yes.
Trustee Roderick?
Yes.
Trustee McGuire?
Yes.
Trustee Morris?
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No.
Okay, the motion carries 5-1 with the lone objection being Trustee Marino.
Item number 7B. Consideration of the ordinance authorizing the improvement plan for the 2012 capital improvement program for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly motioned, but
Right, we did this last
This
week.
is point of order, are we on B also?
this is B.
Yes.
This was, we're not gonna vote.
This is the same one from last.
This was incorrect type, minor, take full credit. This was supposed to be the approval ordinance for the engineer, and it was mistakenly placed as the capital improvement project, which was obviously approved at the last meeting. So there's no need to have any sort of reading or hearing on this.
Well, point of order, actually, we have a motion by one of the prevailing parties from the last meeting to take this item up again.
And it's been motioned to approve.
Yes, it's been passed.
It's been passed.
Right, but this is the subsequent meeting, and we have a motion from one of the prevailing parties
You can amend your
to open this
motion.
again.
Kevin, you can amend your motion.
Yes, motion to reconsider.
You want to reconsider?
No. I want to rescind my motion for this.
If it's not, if it's, just so we can get this clear, if he's not trying to reconsider the motion, then it has no effect at all, and now he's rescinded it anyway, so.
Well, I apologize, I was hoping that he was looking to reconsider.
So, it should have been on the agenda, it's already approved, I mean, we can't vote on it again, so, if there's
So you made a motion to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Next.
Do I have any other motions? I'll entertain a motion to strike this.
I make a motion to strike this.
Second.
Probably, yeah. Well, it's on here.
Sorry?
It's on here.
Okay, then if
I
there's
think the proper thing to do would be to strike it, because it's on here.
Right. Why don't we read it, just do it this way, because it's not a proper motion to strike, it's a proper motion to postpone indefinitely. That would be one of the motions. The other motion is if it's read into the record, again, I apologize for this being in here, but if it's read into the record, there's no motion that it will fail. Let's just read into the record if that's okay, acceptable.
Consideration of an ordinance authorizing an improvement plan for 2012 capital improvement program for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Is there a motion?
Point of order, can I ask, would a motion have to be made from one of the prevailing parties, or can it be made by any trustee?
It's got to be made from the prevailing parties.
I'm asking the village attorney.
Yeah, it's the person the party, that prevailing party, what we call it, prevailing party, yes.
Hearing no motion, this item will be passed on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Item number 8A, consideration of an ordinance appointing Thomas D. Gardner as fire chief for the village of Broadview, county of Cook, state of Illinois.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Hargrave, properly seconded by trustee Benson to approve the appointment of Mr. Gardner as the fire chief. Have any questions or comments from the board, starting with trustee Abraham?
No.
Trustee Benson?
No.
Trustee Hargrave?
I have a comment.
Comment.
I would just like to say to now our new Chief Gardner, I thank you for your time of service where you've acted.
Not yet.
We still voting. I made the motion to approve, so I'm going to go on and say, in my behalf, I thank you for acting as interim. Hopefully the rest of the board will decide that they feel the same way and you'll go ahead and be appointed as the fire chief, and hopefully after the meeting I can tell you welcome.
You did it?
I'm done.
Trustee McGreal?
Quick comment. Interim Chief Gardner, I think we're making a right decision. I think we have the correct guy in place, and I'm looking forward to more of what you've already started. That ends my comment.
Trustee Morris?
No, I have any comment.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Just congratulations to Chief Gardner, and look forward to working with you.
Fantastic. I greatly appreciate the fact that you stood in for as long as you did while we were going through applications and talking to other individuals, trying to find somebody that was better than you, which was kind of but I've been pleased, and you've been doing a wonderful job. Keep up the good work. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, welcome, Chief Gardner. Chief Gardner, the expected swearing in will be the next board meeting, 2 weeks. Thank you, sir. All right.
Item number 8B, consideration of an ordinance authorizing and approving the execution of an agreement for provision of dental group coverage serviced by Guardian for the village of Broadview, county of Cook, state of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably motion by trustee Morris and probably second by trustee Hargreaves. Ms. Baptist, would you want to speak on this one?
Yeah.
I know you're the chairman of the committee. You run the committee. Well, they don't see the emails.
Right.
The people need to know what happened here.
Oh, okay.
Please give a report. Please give a report.
The insurance committee, which consists of representatives from each of our 4 unions and also 1 non-union representative and myself, we met with our broker. Our current vendor, Lincoln, who we've been with for a number of years, their initial renewal was a 19% increase. They brought it down to 13% when they found out that we were shopping it around. However, we got 3 different quotes from vendors that were actually more comparable, and Lincoln wasn't willing to lock in for 2 years versus 2 of our other ones were. And after we got down to the 2 final ones, the members went back and queried their group, and the decision is the majority of our insurance committee was that Guardian was our vendor of choice. The employees know it. They are already expecting the change, subject to your official approval and acceptance of our recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. We put a committee together to make some of these decisions so that it wasn't just the board assigning it directly to each one of the departments. I think the committees are working fine. What do you think, Chief Gardner?
Yeah, it's been working out really well.
Okay, so they collectively decided on the Guardian. Do I have any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Abraham?
No.
Trustee Benson?
No, I don't.
Harvey?
I would like to thank Ms. Baptist for the email that she sent us. I told her earlier today it was good to actually know all the details behind their decision. So I would just like to say thank you for that. That's it.
Trustee McGreal?
No.
Trustee Morris?
No.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries for Guardian.
Item number 8C, consideration of an ordinance authorizing an improvement renewal of the village group insurance coverage policy with Blue Cross Blue Shield for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably motion by trustee Morris, probably second by trustee Benson to approve this item. Have any questions or comments from the board? Abraham?
No.
Benson?
No.
Harvey?
No.
McGreer?
None.
Morris?
No.
Brown Marino?
No.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries also.
Item number D, consideration of a business license for Admiral Mechanical Service, Inc.
I make a motion to approve pending we get proof of a sales tax number.
I second.
Probably motion by trustee Benson, probably second by trustee McGreer to approve this. Trustee Benson, you want to get a report?
Okay, I got Admiral Mechanical Services Incorporated at 2500 South 27th Avenue. What they will be doing is they're open already in Hillside, making sure I get this right. And what they want is a warehouse to store their equipment. Their application is put together, all of the inspections are done, final and approved. I just needed proof of the sales tax number, and I'm willing to approve this, the reason, without the sales tax number now and getting it later, because we are not going to receive sales tax off of a warehouse. So I'm pretty sure we can get that later. I got everything I need, the articles of incorporation, my inspections, the board should have all the same stuff. That's all I got, unless they're here.
Admiral here.
No Admiral? Okay, thank you. So I will have the sales tax number, proof of it this week. So that's all I have.
Okay, any questions from the board? Trustee Abraham?
No.
Trustee Hargis?
No.
McGreer?
None.
Trustee Morris?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I just want to be sure I understand. The application does have a sales tax ID number, but you're looking for the certificate?
I'm looking for proof of it.
They just submitted a number.
I always ask for proof of both those numbers.
Good, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hearing no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And that motion carries.
Item number 9, application for the authority to expend funds for purchase orders totaling $9,027.42.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been probably motioned by trustee Hargit and probably second by trustee Abraham to approve the purchase orders. Trustee Hargit, these yours?
The first one isn't, but I talked to Ms. Baptist about it, so I can read it if you would like. It's from Comcast, just for correction, it's only 3 purchase orders, it's not 4. The first one is for $7,808.40. It's for new contract for monthly internet service for 3 years with Comcast Cable, and we're leaving AT&T because Comcast is half their price, from what I was told by Mrs. Baptist. So we're going to leave AT&T and go to Comcast. The second purchase order is, the next 2 are for the Broadview Fire Department. One for $601.95 toward emergency repairs needed for engine number 216. Looks like different, the door locks, a handle exterior, a module ABB, and shipping, and that's going to be paid to Spartan Chassis. The next one is to WorldPoint for $617.07, and I was told that's for training school.
That's for CPR materials.
For CPR
materials. We use to conduct our CPR classes. And a lot of that cost was reimbursed
By the class cost.
charge for outside classes. So most of this cost we end up getting reimbursed for anyway.
Okay.
For the cost of the class.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Abraham?
No.
Trustee Benson?
No.
Harvey?
No.
Trustee McGreer?
None.
Trustee Morris?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes, I do have a question about the Comcast cable. The total amount of the $7,808.40, that represents the $216.90 a month premium for a total of 36 months. Are we being asked to pay this in one lump, or we're just getting approval for 36 monthly
We're going to
payments?
lock in for 36 months at that rate.
Okay, thank you.
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Benson?
Yes.
Trustee Harvard?
Yes.
Trustee McGriff?
Yes.
Trustee Morris?
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Yes.
And that motion carries.
Item number 10, committee report. Building and Public Property, Trustee Abraham.
Yes, good evening, residents. I have a few announcements regarding, this is from the library. The new Facilities Planning Committee has been formed, and they're having meetings, and their next meeting will be Thursday, April 5th at 5 p.m. at the library, Tuesday, April 10th at 5 p.m., Wednesday, April 18th at 5 p.m. Again, all the public is encouraged to attend. These meetings, like I said, are held at the libraries. They're going over the expansion and the possibility of a new library. Also, at the last meeting, Commissioner Upshaw had received material from our Governor, Pat Ryan, on Illinois Foreclosure Prevention Network. They did hold their first meeting for the homeowners on Saturday, March 31st. They do have a website if anybody was not able to go to it, and you can contact them at any time, and you'll be able to talk to a representative. And it was at www.keepyourhomeillinois.org. Also, our Broadview Food Pantry is available every Wednesday from 11 until 1. On another note on that IFA, myself and speaking to Trustee Benson, we did both look into it to see the feasibility of using that as a funding option. However, we didn't think it was in the best interest, looking at everything that was involved or entailed. So as far as that goes, we did do our proper research on it as well. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Trustee Abraham.
Our next committee report is Business Committee, Trustee Benson.
Good evening. This report is actually from the last meeting. Our business NPC Colored Sealants did give me an update, so I want to share the update with you all. I'll try and make it quick. It's a long little letter. It's little, but it's long. Let's see. During the winter months, they focused on correcting their violations with Broadview and county inspectors. They're pleased to report that the asbestos abatement contractor has safely removed all asbestos from the building. County inspectors visited numerous times during the process and tested the company to make sure everything was okay. Fire Inspector Scott Carlson, our inspector, went out, and they say that he was very helpful with coordinating and the asbestos abatement company during this abatement process. Mount Winter. They had contractors out to fix many of the exterior masonry issues, broken bricks, blocks, damaged windows. The contractors have been working on the multiple damaged windows and were an eyesore to the community. The track side has been entirely replaced with new bricks and windows to make the style consistent with the north side of the building. The exterior of the south side of the building is in progress and will be renovated in a similar fashion to improve the site's visual appearance for the neighborhood. The cleanup of the property, i.e. the tracks in the back, parking lots, and dock area, was also completed within the first week of owning the building. Unclogging roof drains and sealing some skylights were quickly completed, preventing further building deterioration until the roof work can be conducted this spring. The interior has been substantially cleaned up and stripped of old wiring systems and air lines. Mr. Upshaw's communication with them has been very good, and he continues to be very helpful in advising them to the steps in which they need to take. Our support has allowed them to direct substantial resources into making this site productive again as quickly as possible. The roof raising and installation of the fire sprinkler systems are tasks that will commence once the weather enables this work. We still have a long way to go before we can apply for an occupancy permit, but we are making strides in the correct direction. They did offer the board, if we would like, a quick walkthrough to see the progress. Regards, Jim and Tom Steffley. So I definitely want to thank Scott Carlson, Mr. Upshaw for working with this business and coming here and dealing with this building and getting it together, and we're going to have an up and running building with a business that we should be making some good money off of, especially sales tax, because they will be selling. The other thing I wanted to mention is, yes, Trustee Brown Moreno did speak with me on Saturday regarding IFA, just like she said. And so I was interested, so we looked into it to see if this was something that we could do different from the bond with Shockey. I can't say their names. Wait a minute, let me try. This would be Hutchinson, Shockey, Early and Company. And, you know, it sounded really good. We worked on the internet with it, and then we talked to him, and it just did not sound as feasible as you would think it is, because we would have to still pay for an underwriter, even if we went with that source. When I looked on the website, I did not see any municipalities getting bonds through them. They were private companies, like universities, like my school, DePaul, Loyola was on there. Who else was on there? Robert Morris. There was some hospitals on there.
Sauk Valley Community College.
Yeah, community colleges. We did not see any municipalities getting bonds through them. And we would have to pay double the cost when it comes to council. So we just thought, okay, no. Now, as far as grants, I don't know yet about grants, but we're only doing the first stage here. This is just a first step. So if we find some grants, then we can use it in the next stage, or we can apply it to this stage, because Lord only knows this is actually not enough money, but we're doing what we can to get the process started. So I hope that you're okay with my explanation. I know Ms. Redmond, you asked for me to speak on this. If anybody else wanted me to speak, I had her speak as well. So that's all I got regarding that. And so that completes my report, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Very well put.
Our next committee report, Fire, Police, and Civil Service, Trustee Harper.
Good evening, everyone. I was actually not going to do a report because I thought we were going to be at a time constraint. But I'm going to read a letter that I received from the Fire and Police Commission. And I know everyone should already know that we have a new officer that is now in the police academy. So hopefully he will be able to complete his lesson in policing, and we can have him on board. But I received this. It says, this communication is in accordance with the Illinois State and Broadview Village's rules and regulations related to a conditional offer of employment to a new candidate for firefighter and/or police officer. The Village of Broadview attests to the fact that Eric V. Davis, police candidate number 9 from the current eligibility register, which shall expire on January 10th, 2013, has passed all entry-level and intermediate examinations, which enables him to become hired as a Broadview probationary police officer as of April 1st, 2012. The probation period is exactly 1 year. This year there was 366 days, so there's 366 days for a leap year. He will start his academy process on that date, which was yesterday, but we'll go with Monday. According to Section 12A of the Broadview Rules and Regulations that are adopted from the Illinois State Fire and Police Commission Rules and Regulations, final certification of a probationary police officer shall be subject to a successful completion of the basic training course as mandated by the state of Illinois within the prescribed probationary period. Inability to successfully complete shall be grounds for dismissal. On behalf of the Broadview Fire and Police Commission, the mayor, police chief, trustees, and other Broadview administrators, we wish Eric V. Davis much success in his academy training and as a future Broadview police officer. Respectfully submitted, Maurice Ellington, Chairman, Board of Fire and Police Commission.
Oh, great.
So we should have a new officer coming soon.
That's good.
I would also like to now officially welcome Chief Gardner. You have been doing your due diligence, and I appreciate you being so patient with the mayor as he made his decision, but luckily he felt you were a great candidate. We all feel the same way, so we're glad he didn't change his mind.
Thank you very much.
I also would like to let everyone know I've been in meetings with ComEd Trustee Abraham and myself have been meeting with the seniors. We kind of gave them a break the last week or two because I know they might have been a little tired of seeing us, but gonna pick back up. Ms. Yancey said no, good. So I've been talking to our rep with ComEd, and different municipalities did a referendum on, if ComEd, about the energy and electricity. Well, most municipalities voted yes, so ComEd is now in the process of going through public hearings and deciding on the best suppliers and electric supply contract. ComEd will do everything it can to help make the process smooth and productive. As a result of the industry restructuring, ComEd's primary role today is to distribute electricity that is generated by other competitive power producers. With that being said, I just want to remind everybody, you do not have to stick with ComEd as your primary source to purchase your energy. Actually, they're distributing the energy to you from another source, so you do not have to stick with them. There are many different companies that are offering a discounted rate. Be sure to go out and research these companies before you decide to switch over, but ComEd has assured me as much as they can that they will try not to raise rates if people decide to leave. I have been in touch with a couple of different solar panel providers, and our first step, because the seniors requested it, was for them to go out and meet with a couple of the seniors. So if anybody wants to get information about solar panel companies or, find out more options for electricity sources, you can email me. My email address is up on our new website. It's judy.hargett@broadview-il.gov. So you can email me and I can add you to the list for those companies to contact you as well. And I believe that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Harvey.
Our next committee report, street sidewalks and alley, Trustee McGrill.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report. I just wanted to thank Trustee Abraham and Trustee Benson for so eloquently explaining in detail about the discussion that we had today. The IFA is one option. We've discussed so many options, collecting pop bottles, anything short of raising the taxes. And we do believe that we have the absolute best feasible way of going about this. And again, there are some grants that may come up that could assist us in the future. Just because we don't have that implemented now doesn't mean that we can't in the future. And we will be looking at all options that are best for the village. One correction, one of the trustees spoke about no overhead for the IFA. It's actually more overhead that we would have to spend as far as the issuance, council, and the other fees involved. So with that being said, again, trustees, thank you for explaining that. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee.
Our next committee report, Finance Committee, Trustee Morris.
Good evening. I know last meeting, we was up in arms about this capital improvement thing, but I did go over each one of those bullet points when it came to those dollars and cents to get a number to understand what it was that we was getting him to do. And at this point, it's nothing. He's just gonna go out, shop the bond, and then we control every step that he takes. That's what got me on board with it. And believe me, a lot of you come to this meeting thinking that you're just out here in this audience, but I actually use this audience for that 7th trustee. We have 6 people up here, but everybody out here has something to lose or gain by living in this village. So I just want to say that no matter what happens, I'm going to try to use my best judgment to make sure that we get what we deserve. And if anything is out of line, believe me, they couldn't put a spotlight in my face in a basement without me telling them. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Morris.
Our next committee report, Water Drainage and Health, Trustee Brown Burritos.
Thank you. Well, on Saturday, I tried to hold a Water Drainage and Health Committee meeting. I wanted to do this quickly because I wanted to be able to get the information across prior to tonight's meeting. And I was actually thrilled when I saw the agenda and thought that the board was ready to take another look at the capital improvement plan. My concern with the capital improvement plan, now that I've had a chance to go over it in more detail and take a closer look, is that we've done this without really looking at the condition of the infrastructure below the ground. Now, for that reason, and just as a matter of the regular conducting our business as usual, there are two sets of tests, two types of testing that I strongly recommend that we do in order to understand the actual condition of our infrastructure. I asked two gentlemen to come on Saturday. They gave excellent presentations, and these presentations are available on the internet if you, and I encourage people to see them. I'm sorry? Okay. I encourage people to see them. Both of the gentlemen have agreed to come here this evening and answer any questions if the board would have questions of them. I also alerted the board that the recordings were available on the internet and hope that they did take advantage of that, and told them that these gentlemen would be here tonight. Basically, the two testing options, we have Ralph Gross here from ATS, Associated Technical Service. The testing that his company does, basically it's, you know, I'd actually like to turn this over just for about 3 minutes or so.
This is a committee, the point of order, Trustee Marino. It's a committee report from you. These individuals are not on tonight's agenda, and it would be inappropriate for them to be given a presentation.
All right, then let me go ahead and explain this as best I can, and if I misspeak, Mr. Gross, please alert me to that. What his company does is uses an ultrasound technology to determine where there are leaks in our water mains. So they literally go and listen at various points throughout our entire village, all of our water main systems, and with the ultrasonic equipment, they can tell and pinpoint with a remarkable accuracy exactly where there are any breaks right now in our water mains. This is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, just in terms of understanding what the integrity and condition is of our water mains, it's not only not unheard of, it's actually common that we will have a break in a water main and be losing thousands of gallons of water a day, hundreds of thousands of gallons a day, and not know it because it hasn't bubbled to the surface. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a break, and it doesn't mean that we're not losing money by literally pouring this water down the drain. Often, this if it doesn't bubble to the surface, water is found another way to dissipate, and frequently that is into the sewer system. So what we're doing is buying water from the city of Chicago and flushing it down the sewers without even knowing that we're doing that. But there's a number of other reasons that we would want to know if there are breaks right now in our water main that we're not aware of. For example, we saw over the last year a few instances where Geno's Heating had to go and replace an area of the street that had collapsed. Now, when the street collapses or the ground collapses, it's because there's something going on underneath that has disturbed the integrity of that ground, which could very well be a water main break or some sort of a break or disturbance with our sewer system. But something is going on underneath there. And we don't know this, we don't know what kind of damage is being done unless we actually do take a look at it. And the third thing is, when we're looking at a capital improvement plan, and we have limited resources, whether we do it by bonds, grants, etc., we want to be sure that we have spent that money in the most effective way possible. So until we do know whether or not, I won't even say whether or not, because what I've learned from talking with Mr. Gross and looking at other companies and just in general, talking over the years with people from other public works departments, whatnot, it would be very, very rare for them not to find any undiscovered water leaks. Am I correct, Mr. Gross? Right. And what's more, ATS, this company in particular, and this is the reason that I was so glad Mr. Gross was able to do this, they have been performing these tests on our water mains in Broadview since 1981. Not every single year, we didn't have it done every year. During the mid-90s, we went to another company that was less expensive. They were finding a lot less leaks. And then Mr. Gross came back in a couple of years later when we hired ATS again. And the first time out, there was 45, 50 undiscovered leaks. Now, the cost of this service, and I didn't ask Mr. Gross for a specific bid or a hard, fast cost, but we're looking at a cost of about roughly $10,000 to examine all of our water mains throughout the entire village, residential and industrial, because we are just as responsible for maintaining those water lines as we are the residential area. For a cost of $10,000, we can literally be saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars by not having this water just disappear into the sewer system. So this is something I would strongly recommend that the board consider. I don't know whether or not we would be allowed to ask Mr. Gross any questions. I had sent over, when I emailed all of the trustees Saturday night, letting them know that the recording was available, I also sent them as an attachment the handouts that Mr. Gross had with information about his company. If we're not allowed to ask him questions this evening, and I apologize for asking him to come here this evening if we're not allowed to. But the other testing, and Mr. Woods, Tom Woods, is in the back of the room from a company called VisiSewer. I met Mr. Woods when I attended the Illinois Municipal League Conference last September. It was one of the companies that performs this type of service where they do a very thorough cleaning and televising of the sewer systems. When we're talking about cleaning our sewers, it's one thing to say we're going to clean where the manholes are, we're going to shoot some water through, we're going to try and do it on our own. But the type of cleaning that is done by a company like VisiSewer is much more thorough, and it addresses the actual problems that I believe, from talking to people who've experienced flooding problems in their basements, not only when we have the major July of 2010 floods or Hurricane Ike coming through, but when we have those intense bursts of rain and our system is overloaded at that point. There's a reason, especially for people who may not have ever experienced this type of basement backups of sewage and what have you, and now they are. There's a reason for that. And basically, this isn't brain surgery. The water has nowhere to go. Now, when we have the huge rains, like I said, in 2010 or 2008, the entire system is overloaded. But when we have situations with the heavy bursts of rain, and people are seeing sewage coming up in their basements, the problem is that our sewer line is not allowing that water and that sewage to leave. So it's looking for wherever it can go to come up. And the reason that it would not be if it's not a huge catastrophic event like we saw in 2010, the reason is that there's something keeping that water and material from moving forward. Now, in the cleaning that VisiSewer does, it's a much more intense cleaning if all you're talking about is the jetting than what we're capable of doing as a village. The equipment that they use, it's a 2,000 pound per square inch jetting process. So it's a very high pressure to break up all the gunk that's accumulated on the inside of the sewer. When they come up across a blockage, which is not uncommon, and the blockage can start by roots coming in or something getting caught up, but then keep in mind, over the years, over the months and years, once something is blocking, then look at it, think about what you see when a tree branch falls in a river. The tree branch falls, and for the most part, the water still moves around it. But then the leaves and the garbage and other tree branches and things accumulate up against it, and now you have a solid blockage. When they come across that, they have other equipment that breaks through that blockage, and now the water can continue to go through. The final part of the testing, and this is more the testing part of it, is televising the sewers. Because right now, we don't know the condition of our sewers. We don't know what the infrastructure looks like. So when we're designing the capital improvement plan, we're not necessarily putting our resources where they're needed the most. And that's the reason that I wanted to get this done and have this presentation prior to this meeting this evening. I sincerely hope that the board would take advantage of the information that I was able to provide and asking these two gentlemen to be here tonight to be able to answer questions. But whether in connection with the 5-year capital improvement plan or just as a matter of conducting business and how we maintain our water and sewer systems, these are two services that we, in my opinion, we absolutely need to look at and consider. Now, even without bonding, even without looking to the financing options for the rest of this, excuse me, we do have the money in our water and sewer fund now to pay for this level of testing. And then we would be able to intelligently move forward and say, this is where we need to look first. This is what we have to do now. When Mr. Gross would, and his company would do the inspection of the water mains, they may, and looking at it at the history in Broadview, it would not be at all unusual for them to find 20 to 40 to 50 active water main breaks right now. Some are larger than others. Some, we may, and I wish he was able to speak, because on Saturday he gave us some very interesting examples just within our own village of the types of leaks that they found. It may be that there's something so huge, like one that was found by his company on Roosevelt Road a few years back, where he actually had to convince Public Works that there was a leak down there. They tore it up, and I believe it was 750,000 gallons a day was coming out of that leak, and no indication whatsoever. If it's something like that, we know we need to deal with it immediately. If it's a smaller leak, we can plan for it and say, okay, we've got 45 leaks. We can't cover all of those right now, but now we know this is an area that should be considered, because a small leak is only going to get to be a bigger leak. A small blockage is only going to get to be a bigger blockage. And eventually, these are things we're going to have to do. If we want the water and stuff to go through our sewers, we have to make sure that they're cleaned and have a smooth sailing. And that the only way to do it is to send the equipment in there to actually do the work. And that, although we do have some equipment that this administration purchased a couple of years ago in retrofitting our street sweeping machine, that is not going to give us the same type of cleaning that we would get from a company with their specialized equipment, and it's certainly not going to give us the televising and be able to see what we're dealing with. So, there's another item that I want to just bring up tonight very briefly, having to do with the water, drainage, and health. And it's something that I want to put together as a report, and hopefully the board will consider discussing at a future meeting. And that is our water rates. As a resident, and a resident who came to meetings and FOIA'd and paid close attention, it wasn't until I became a trustee that I found out that we have different rates that we're charging for different water users. When we would be told about the increases in our water rates, the only information we ever got was about the residential water rates. We actually have a lower rate for our industrial users, but we have a much, much higher rate for what's called our government users. And government users would be the village of Broadview, the water that we actually use, the library, the schools, the park district, which is especially important with the pool and the showers and what have you. I was curious, once I realized that we had this different rates that we're charging, and I do applaud President Jones for including not just the residential, but all of the various rates on the front page of the bulletin, so people can see what I'm referring to now. I was curious to see how long this type of policy had been in place. And we really didn't start jumping up with the government rates until 2004. And then in 2005 and 6, and again in 2008, we saw enormous increases for the government rate. The reason I'm concerned with this is because, first of all, the government portion of the water sales in Broadview is relatively small. So we're talking about a situation where we're charging a lot more money, but the revenue compared to our overall water and sewer revenue is not a large percentage. And yet, by charging these much higher rates, and as it stands right now, I mean, before the water increase, to give you an idea what I'm talking about, while the residential is $4.70 and the industrial is $4.40 per unit, the government is $5.46 per unit. So we're talking about a pretty substantially higher amount. And what we're doing is charging ourselves more money. Because when it comes to paying the higher rate, whether we're talking about one of the schools, or we're talking about the park district, or the village itself, we as taxpayers are the people who are actually paying that higher rate. It's a pass-through. So I took some time to go through the history of it and compare it with Chicago's increases, because we buy our water from Chicago. I just wanted to bring it up tonight while I was on my soapbox, because it's something that I think I would like to ask the board to consider. And it may be difficult to consider these rates if we are sending an underwriter out to talk to people about financing, and he's bringing these rates with him. So it may be a difficult thing to try and change. And that is actually the reason that I ultimately, as I was thinking it over, decided to vote no on the underwriter right now. It appears that I've done pretty much the same level of research into things like the IFA that trustees Benson and Abram have. I walked away with a different, I'm sorry. I walked away with a different impression of the possibilities than they did. I'm going to continue to examine, there's other options as well. Illinois EPA has a number of different loan and grant programs that are available to us as well. So let me just close by saying I hope to come back to the board in the next meeting or two with a lot of other options. And I would like to ask that that these testing procedures be on the next agenda for the board to consider approving these testing procedures, because I do believe that they're vital if we're actually going to take care of our infrastructure. And with that, I'll close.
Thank you, Trustee Brown Marino. Madam Clerk.
Okay, I forgot what I was I know. National Prayer Day. National Prayer Day has been, National Prayer Day is May the 5th. Village of Broadview has been enlisted and signed up for National Prayer Day. This will be the third year that the village has sponsored National Prayer Day out of the village hall. Also that it has been sponsored and signed up by one of our own village residents, Ms. Brenda Williams, who signed the village up. Congress has passed this law for National Prayer Day. The information will be going out soon, also literature. We ask you to come and support and pray for our elected officials, our trustees, our mayor, our department head, and our village finance, fire department, and police department, because it's very important that we pray that we're on the right track and we're doing the right thing. Just to remind you about that. The second note, and I'm going to make it brief, President Jones, is that I received a Freedom of Information request concerning an email that I personally had sent out to Bill Panero, our village attorney, and deputy clerk, Lenore Sanchez. I'd like to thank the residents for being concerned of my absence on March 5th. After some of the residents was here and I wasn't in attendance for that board meeting, it appeared that if I had just vacated did not notify anyone, I have someone to come here to sit in my position as for clerk, which I did notify the village attorney and also our deputy clerk. So I did get that information out. I made additional copies. If anybody wanted to FOIA that information again, feel free to get that email or that notice that went out.
There's no confusion. She did send me that email.
Okay.
Right. I thank you, Bill, because I got quite a few calls. I got an email regarding if I had notified the president and village trustees or the attorney if someone was sitting in my place. I've been in this position for 3 years. I respect the position as the clerk, and there's no way that I would have been in this position and not inform our president or our village attorney or even the person who was appointed as deputy clerk when the clerk will be absent. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam
President Jones.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I wasn't going to do a report, but I'm compelled to respond to a couple of things. First of all, Ms. Redmond, I applaud you for your concern, and I applaud you for you doing your due diligence and keeping us all on our toes. As you can see, you've got a bunch of board members up here that are just as concerned as you are. As you can see, they've all done homework and they ask a lot of questions. And you asked about other sources of money. Well, we do have a grant writer that we actually contracted with a few meetings ago that we will have actually seeking out grants for this particular project. And as you are aware, the other option that was discussed does not really apply to us, although we would like it to, but it doesn't, at least not at this time. When you asked about the excess in the water fund, one of the main reasons that we had the excess in the water fund is because we have done no repairs. We have not taken any action to fix anything, replace or repair anything for several years, thus the surplus of funds. And the basic reason that we have those funds is to do those basic repairs that we need and basic replacements. And then you talk about what happens if other work is needed. And it's because we have limited resources that we scaled it back. And I think I spoke about this in previous board meetings. They brought a capital improvements plan to me. As a matter of fact, let me digress. These meetings have been ongoing for months. The village engineer, Public Works, and a few other individuals, including some financial people at the latter stages of this, were involved in the capital improvement plan. And it was based on the village engineer's personal, intimate knowledge of our infrastructure and our system, how we got to this capital improvement plan. And to Trustee Marino's point, and for everyone in the room, we let the data lead us to where we're going. The data is going to point us to where the major leaks are. The data tells us exactly what the oldest part of our infrastructure is. The data lets us know where we've had the most consistent reports of leaks and repairs of leaks. So we have done our due diligence in that respect. Because we have limited resources is one of the reasons why we don't contract with certain companies to just search out leaks. Right now, our water loss is well within their tolerance. And to their point, if they found 45 leaks, because we have limited resources, we couldn't fix them anyway. Okay? We'd only be able to fix a certain amount of them. But guess what? We'd have got charged for every leak that they found, because they give you a basic price, and in the meeting that I came to Saturday, they charge you per leak found. We don't even know if those leaks are valid leaks if we don't go in there. It's like a doctor. If you don't make the incision and look inside, you don't know whether it's there or not. You know what was reported to you. So we can't fix them all. But we would have paid to find those that we can't fix. So that's problematic for me personally. You know, let me move on down the road here. I'm trying to remember everything. We talked about the jetting of our sewer systems and the cleaning of our sewer systems. And to use Ms. Trustee Marino's terms, it's not brain surgery, which is absolutely not. What she failed to say is we don't have a standalone system. Our system is not just ours. It doesn't belong solely to Broadview. We happen to be at the end of a bottleneck. We are conjoined with several other municipalities north and northwest of us, and we happen to be the bottleneck of the entire system. We feed directly into the Des Plaines River and into the Addison Creek, which is behind us. Part of our outflow from our system going into the creek was actually submerged underwater. And water seeks its own level. So it's not just the clogging or obstructions in the system that causes the flooding. It's the backflow. And if you think about it, if you're the municipality at the bottom of a drain in a tub or in a sink or whatever, and you just pour gallons of water in the sink, guess what? It's going to overflow because there's only so much that's going to be able to go through. Now, since we've been in office, we have started the cleaning of the system. I just got this from the Public Works Director. He just gave this to me just now. I'll just read what he just gave me, and I'm continuing on with my spiel here. The sewer cleaning for 2012. Every 2 years, Broadview Public Works Department has scheduled sewer cleaning and riding throughout the entire village. Upon completion, they're also administering a televising of the entire system and catch basins. The equipment used, staff of 3, depending upon weather conditions, the program actually lasts from 8 to 16 weeks. GMC 1,600-gallon sewer jetter operated off a 2,000 PSI pump shoots 65 gallons per minute through a diamond tip nozzle for a hose range of 500 feet. The sweeper vacuum truck with 2 cubic yards storage bin for sludge removal, leaves, mud, and compost that is held in the catch basins. Operation for vacuum truck is 2,200 RPMs for removal of debris. And that's the technical information on what the village has been doing since we've been here. But it goes even further than that. Because we're not a standalone system, we're subject to what happens with water wreck. A water wreck, you know, everybody talks about the valve. Somebody cut the valve. Well, we found that at Gardner Road, there was an opportunity where they could divert the water straight to the creek and not run it through our system, which they were not doing, which had part and parcel was part of the problem for the flooding. So there's quite a few other nuances and other things that go along into this whole project. I'm going to ask the village engineer and Public Works to actually give you all a presentation on exactly the process that we went through, the conversations that we've had with Water Rec, and how we came to the conclusions. I don't know if you all were here when we had Water Rec actually out here with the diagram of the system showing you about all the water and showing you the cause and the reason why we had, you know, the flooding. And for me, just the mere fact that we're at the end of a bottleneck is an issue. But I'm going to get off of that capital projects issue for now because I originally hadn't planned on even discussing it at this point, and I'm going to go on to a more positive note. I welcome you, Chief Gardner, and I applaud your patience as I went through the paces of going through all the applicants. You've done a splendid job in your acting position. Currently, you're pursuing additional firefighters, am I correct?
Sir, 6 of them.
You're pursuing how many?
6.
And how are we going to pay for them?
Grant.
Through a grant.
Yeah.
Are you pursuing an ambulance?
Yes, sir. Looking at a grant for that also, and an engine.
And an engine. So Chief Gardner's working very hard on trying to get our fire department up to speed and up to snuff so that we can go back and get some contracts that we've already lost. Congratulations, Chief Gardner. I'm sure you're going to serve the village well. You've been in Broadview how long?
Over 40 years.
Played Little League Baseball here and everything.
Played baseball, went to Roosevelt, went to Linda, went to Proviso East.
Just want them to know that you are a Broadview, all right? So,
Third generation, bro.
yeah, 3rd generation. So you guys welcome Thomas Gardner. Give him an applause. I appreciate Thomas Gardner. With that, I'll entertain a motion to end tonight's meeting.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, that's the conclusion of the meeting.